Hi there, Steve Kaufman here, talking to you again about my great passion, which is language learning. If you enjoy these videos, please subscribe. I do feel strongly that anyone can learn languages, one foreign language, several foreign languages, and I try to encourage people to do so and provide some advice from my own experience. So today I want to talk about the idea that with a relatively limited vocabulary, we can actually communicate quite effectively in a language, in a foreign language. It is known that a relatively small number of words, say 1,000 words, will account for 70%, depending on the context, 60, 70, 75% of any given language content. So if we just learn those 1,000 words, we can then do quite well in the language. That's the theory. I have never found that to be the case. Okay, so up front I'll give you the conclusion. Not true, for a variety of reasons. First of all, the reason I'm wanting to talk about this is because I was noticing that in my Arabic now I have 1,100 known words, the way we count words at link. Now granted, in Arabic there's different forms of verbs and nouns, and they tack the and onto nouns, and so this number in terms of word families would be quite a bit lower. So it's not totally indicative, but it's a beginning of an indication of just how much you can cover with a limited vocabulary. So I have 1,100 known words. Probably it's a bit higher, but let's say it's 1,100 known words as identified by link, by the system. So if I open a new lesson in the mini stories series, we have 60 mini stories in Arabic, the same mini stories that I used for Greek, and I love them. They're addictive. They cover mostly the most common vocabulary, in particular the most common verbs, which I think is very important. So it's not, real authentic content. But and there's a lot of repetition in them. But if I open a new story, even though I know 1,100 words, typically there's 35 to 40% unknown words in those lessons. Unknown to me. Unknown to me means I haven't come across them before in our system. If I open a lesson from Let's Learn Arabic, which is still material that is designed for learners, but it's a little more difficult, and it's a different series, so a different vocabulary. There I'm looking at 50% unknown words. If I open, because at Link we have this news feed, so I can get, articles from Huffington Post in Arabic or whatever happens to feed into my feed, there's 60% unknown words. So I have 1,100 known words, but these lessons, either learner material showing me 40% unknown words, intermediate level material 50% unknown words, news articles 60% unknown words. In other words, having 1,100 known words doesn't enable me to understand these articles. There are still lots of words that I don't know. And it's true, for example, typically in the sort of beginner books where they promise that you will master this language, and they take you to, the customs and the doctor and the bank, and therefore now you know this vocabulary. It doesn't work that way, because even if you think you know 1,000 words, when you need them, you probably won't remember them, or there's a good chance. How many times have I looked, I need to know the word for such and such because, I'm going to the store to buy this. Two problems with that. Probably I will forget the word by the time I get to the store. It's happened to me so often. Or because we have no way of anticipating what that person in the store is going to say, what words they are going to use. That word may not even, the words that I think I now have mastered that are going to enable me to navigate this situation. In fact, there might be a whole new range of words that come up. So the conclusion is the idea that you can somehow focus in on a small number of words and then be comfortable in the language is simply not true. Beyond that, because the best way to get used to a language is to do a lot of listening and reading, you can't stay forever with content that only has these, most frequent 1,000 words. You have to get into other words. And the less frequent words, of course, they appear less frequently. So they're more difficult to learn. And therefore, you have to consume massive quantities of material before these words sink in. But as you are pursuing, and this is I always sort of make reference to this sort of, dog races where the dogs chase the mechanical rabbit. As I am chasing these new words and trying to increase my vocabulary on link, at the same time, I'm going over again and again and again the words that I already know, the structures that I have already met. I'm becoming familiar with the language so that those, even the high frequency words, I'm not learning them as a deliberate task with lists. I am absorbing them naturally so that they become a comfortable part of me. And that's one of the reasons, by the way, that I really recommend using our mini stories. We have them in a variety of languages at Link, because they're good to get started in a language. I use them for Greek, I'm using them for Arabic, but I want to go back and do Russian mini stories and Czech mini stories, because it's an opportunity to go over some of the basic structures and the basic vocabulary, because there's always things that slip, always things that we lose. And that's why we need to have this massive exposure. And you can't just go in there and try to isolate a small number of very high frequency words and hope to achieve anything close to fluency or even any level of comfort in the language. So there you have it. I look forward to your comments. Bye for now.